ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeannie Birchfield. I'm the chair of the Calhoun County Republican Party, and on behalf of the party, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Pancake, Pork, and Politics breakfast. I am very grateful to each of you who ventured out in the weather this morning. When we planned this event for mid-May, we really expected warm weather and sunny skies, but I think we failed you on that point this morning. I hope you'll forgive us if we give you some warm pancakes and sunny conversation. Does that count? That counts? All right, very good. As you look around this morning, you'll notice our crowd is extra light. We received a phone call from the White House earlier in the week, and we're told that the Vice President would be in town this morning, and we were asked to supply folks for his security detail and his welcome committee, and that is where half of our crowd is this morning, and others will be leaving. I promise candidates, if they get up and leave in the middle of your speech, it's nothing you said, but we do have more people who were able to join us for a short time this morning who will be having to leave in just a little while. So we're very privileged to have Vice President Pence in town this morning. When I spoke with the gentleman from the White House, I said, you know, that morning is our pancake breakfast, and is there any chance that the Vice President would be able to stop by? And I'm happy to say that he didn't say no. Through the laughter, I don't think that he would have been able to say anything at all. But I want you to know I asked. I have asked Bishop Tino Smith, founder and senior pastor of Kingdom Builders Worldwide, to ask God's blessing on our time together.
Before we pray, I want to acknowledge that the young man that's running for U.S. Senate, John James, he was on his way here, and they had an emergency. So let's remember to pray for that family as they return home safely. I want to thank you for this opportunity to even have prayer. I am now in the city of Battle Creek. Been gone for 30 years. Last time I was in politics, I was a Democrat, Calhoun County Commissioner. I and Ann Norlander did the biggest upset. She defeated Marcus Gray, and I defeated Marion Birch. So that was like the first time ever. So when I went to visit her, and I'm a very close friend of Ann, I went to see if my picture was still up there, and it wasn't. I found it in the closet. But anyway, so they remodeled the whole thing. So, but I'm here because I have a lot of great friends and supporters that I really believe in. I'm about the person. I've always been about the person, and met Dave Morgan. And other individuals, very, very close with Ira Combs. He and I are very, very close. We grew up together. So, but my job is to pray. I'm not campaigning, I'm not politicking, it's to pray. So that's what I'm going to do. I just like to always remind us that Moses was a great individual that had values and practice. And as politicians, we want to always remember that, you know, we represent the voice of God. And sometimes we tend to forget that. And it doesn't matter what side we're on. You know, God has placed politicians or government to be involved in making decisions for the people. Dr. Bison and I are very close, so I'm going to leave it with that. So let's pray for the food and for the gathering. I brought a young lady with me, Christina. She's one of the young ladies that's a political guru. She can campaign. If you want somebody to campaign for you, that's your guy. That's your lady. Father, we honor you today for this privilege. We're just grateful for people that cares about our world and our government. And we recognize, God, that you don't come down and talk to us, but you talk through people, male, female, boy, girl. And so I pray that this beginning, as we move through this process, that the right person is selected to do the right job to better our world, because that's what we need, so you will be glorified. Bless the food we're about to receive, bless the Republican Party, and bless all other individuals that are concerned about bettering our world. This is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen. We do have a march at 2 o'clock. The rain is going to be back. As y'all know, young man Joseph Bowser was killed ridiculously, foolishly. And so we're going to be marching. We had to move it back because of the vice president. So if you all know how to pray, pray that the rain continue to stop or stop at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Smith. Our people know how to pray. Our next distinguished guest this morning is a 6th grade student from Marshall. Miss Audrey Anthony will be singing our national anthem this morning.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Does that give you hope for our future? Yeah. Yes. All right, I believe the kitchen crew has breakfast ready, so your servers are those who serve you every day. These are elected officials from Calhoun County. We're very proud to have them with us this morning. Dr. John Bizon, State Representative Dave Maturin, County Sheriff Matt Saxton, County Prosecutor Dave Gilbert. Steve Frisbee was not able to be with us today. He's working for the Vice President this morning. Vic Potter and Gary Tompkins both serve on the County Commission, so enjoy breakfast, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue breakfast. Please have as many plates of seconds and thirds and fourths as you wish, but we are going to go on with our program now. We're going to introduce our candidates who will be on the 2018 ballot. But before we do that, Dan Busher, where's Dan Busher? Dan Busher, I've been told you have a birthday today, so ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Dan Busher. Happy birthday. And our sheriff wanted us to remind the elected officials who are serving to please serve from the right and take from the left, just like in Lansing and Washington, and that way we won't confuse the good people here this morning. Thank you, Sheriff, for the reminder. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, also don't forget to check out our bake sale, silent auctions. We had Alex McVicker from State Party helped organize that for us, and that's always a lot of fun to see how violent it gets over cupcakes at the very end of this thing. You think it's friendly right now, but just wait. Make sure you get back there. And because voter education is a big part of what we are tasked with in the Calhoun County Republican Party, I've invited each of the candidates who will be on the 2018 ballot to come and give just a little update about their campaign, to let you know what they're all about, give you an opportunity to figure out who you want to talk to later on when we get up to mingle. And forgive the order. The order that I'll call these folks up is literally the order that I found them this morning to remind them about their 2 minutes. So, and as Bishop Smith announced this morning, Senate candidate John James did have a family emergency this morning, turned around on the way here. So I thank Dr. Smith for his prayers, and I ask you to keep John James and his family in your prayers throughout the day. And now that I've embarrassed him, if he's still talking to me, we'll start off with Dan Busher.
Good morning, everyone. I thought my birthday was Monday until Judge Yost Johnson reminded me. My son and my wife are still in bed, so I got up, tried to be really quiet before I came here this morning. Good morning, thank you. My name is Dan Busher. I've been a Republican for about 28 years. I'm currently running for Judge Norlander's seat. He unfortunately has to leave us because he's term limited out. Took some long time. Right now it's just myself and Ms. Tomac, so it's a two-person race, and I'm glad to see Tracy and her husband here. We're both doing an excellent job running this year, trying to meet everybody. It's a district court spot. It's a people's court. Last year, district court handled approximately 42,000 cases amongst the 4 judges. I personally believe experience is going to matter in this particular job. I know most of you through the party, but for those who don't know me, I've been an attorney for just over 30 years, hitting 25 years in the prosecutor's office, and I've been the chief assistant for 14 of those years. Over those years, I've handled thousands of felony cases, probably 10 times as misdemeanors as we all start out in the office. Unfortunately, I have one more homicide to do before I take a day break and do politics. This will be my 45th homicide I've handled in Calhoun County. I believe our office with Mr. Gilbert, we make a difference in Calhoun County. I've helped start men's and women's drug court, sobriety court, mental health treatment court. The prosecutor's office is a gatekeeper for all these programs, and as a result, we've had hundreds of women and men come through, and we've actually affected the quality of their lives. Being a member of Safe Place and being the passport chair, you can see how an active prosecutor's office and an active bench positively affects your community. I've seen women and children affect the quality of their lives and their families' lives for generations as a result of our involvement, and it's very rewarding. Back in the 90s, when I used to be in the drug unit, the theory was lock them up, put them all away, and that's how we're going to solve our problems. And Senator Shoemaker was involved in things like that. But things have changed over the years, folks. Many of our citizens have issues with drugs, substance abuse, alcohol, mental health problems. We have to use these diversion courts to help people. Domestic violence. You can see the changes 2 or 3 generations down the road. Domestic violence, substance abuse issues, mental health, codependent issues. These are things we're facing on a daily basis, and I've been working on them since 2003 when we first started these programs. Experience matters. I've been in the court every day for 30 years, and I'm going to ask for your support. I've been a member of the party for 25 years. I've been in all the parades. I've been in all the lit drops. I've stuffed envelopes, and although this is a nonpartisan, I always come. I always support the party, what's right for the party, a conservative background, a conservative leaning toward the bench and all the issues that the bench faces. And when it comes time for November, I'm going to ask for your support. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Mike Calton. And after Mike, we'll have Dr. John Bison.
Good morning. I am Mike Calton, and I am running for the state Senate seat. Now, some of you may remember me from your Lincoln day. I did play some harmonica with the lieutenant governor. I played Mustang Sally, which is one of my favorites. Jeannie let me speak early because I have to get back up to my chiropractic office in Nashville, which is what I do. And today is a meat and potatoes chiropractic day. And I'm going to explain why. The things that make achy joints hurt worse is cold, damp, and dropping barometer, which we have all 3 today. And what's interesting is Intellicast makes an aches and pains map of the United States, and it's an interesting map. They also make a bad hair day map, which I'm sure has to do more probably with heat and humidity. But on the aches and pains map, I'm sure we are red, if not yellow, which means big aches and pains day. So I got to get up to my clinic in Nashville and work with patients. Now, what's great to see is I see all the elected officials serving pancakes and that's a great thing because, on the campaign trail, you have some people who have a bad view of politicians, people who are in elected office. But in reality, in truth, elected officials serve. And they serve us, and they'll even go to the extent of serving pancakes and coffee at a breakfast like this. It's great to see. Now, someone who's famous for serving coffee is Bill Schuette, and I got to see him speak a couple weeks ago at the Berry County Lincoln Day, and he's kind of made a reputation of that. It's a great thing, and I tried to emulate that one time. I tried to serve coffee one time at a Lincoln Day up at Ionia County, and I thought, wow, I'm just like Bill Schuette. I'm serving coffee. And I was talking to this one woman as I'm pouring her coffee, and her eyes just bugged open, and her pupils dilated, and I thought, wow, I really am making an impression. But I was actually dribbling coffee on her arm, and it was very hot. So on the campaign trail, we're knocking doors, and we're talking to lots of people and asking their concerns. And especially in Calhoun County, can you guess what the number one concern is? Roads. Now, I know I was in the legislature when we did vote for a fix, and that fix doesn't take full effect till 2021. But I think there's still other things that can be done. I have ideas, and I'll be putting those out later in the campaign. And, other issues, even though the economy's doing pretty good, people are talking about jobs. Like maybe they have a job, but it wasn't as good as the job they had before. Or maybe they're not in the unemployment stats because they've stopped looking for a job, or they feel they're too old, or their skill set is antiquated. So jobs is still an issue out there. So I've talked to several people today whose doors I have knocked in the last month, and I'll be all around Calhoun County, and I hope to see you. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
Next we have Dr. John Bison, and after him, Speaker of the House, Tom Leonard.
Thank you so much for the invitation to come and join you this afternoon, this morning. Even though it's raining and cold out there, it's great to be with you. And as I look around the room, I see friends. I see people who I know and I trust, and it is just great to be with family. And oftentimes when I am here, I feel like I am with family. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my dear wife of 45 years. Miss Debbie, you want to raise your hand? That is one young lady who puts up with a lot, and I very much appreciate her putting up with me for 45 years. When we talk about what is important to me, it's family, faith, and freedom. We were blessed to have 2 of our 4 kids come back to Calhoun County, and they have 5 of our 6 grandkids. And my dear wife is babysitter in chief. Each time one of them have to go running, she gets a call and says, "Yep, we're going to bring the kids over." But strong families are something that we need to make sure that is embedded in our society, and I'm afraid that we are losing that capability of having strong families. We need to get back to our basic founding principles, steadfast faith. We are a nation built on faith, and I see that going by the wayside. It's almost as if you want to pray, it's something that is bad rather than something that is good. And personal freedom. It seems like we have more and more government intrusion into our activities, and it's going to require that we are vigilant. And I am here to represent you. I try to spend time in the community. I try to spend time back here rather than up in Lansing as much as I can, because this is where the action is. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is what I am sent to do, and I very much appreciate you sending me to Lansing to do that for the last 4 years. Someone said that eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, and I agree with that. This is a time when, because of national politics, more than local, although local have played in as well, here throughout the state, there are those who are concerned that we may have a blue wave coming. The enthusiasm that I see in this room has to be preserved. It has to extend all the way to November to the voting box. We're going to need to make sure that Dave Morgan is well supported out here, and I'll be doing everything I can to support him and the rest of our ballot. This is not a time for complacence. This is a time when we have to go out there and we need to recruit others to make sure that nobody stays home, because if we stay home, bad things can happen. I too will be asking for your support. Thank you for letting me join you this morning.
Speaker of the House, Tom Leonard, and he will be followed by Koen Driesen, who will be speaking on Dr. Joseph Guzman's behalf.
Well, good morning, and I want to thank all of you for having me this morning. First and foremost, I promised Dave Morgan I would send his regards to everybody. He did get the opportunity to meet with the Vice President, it sounds like, so he did not want to pass that up, and I don't blame him. But I will say this about Dave. We've got to get the vote out for him in the fall. I did not think that we were going to be able to find anybody to fill the shoes of Dr. John Bison, who has been one of my dearest friends in the House, who has been an absolutely incredible representative for this district. But I tell you, we have found somebody in Dave Morgan, and this is going to be a tough seat to hold. I know we can do it. We're going to need your help, but he wanted me to give you all of you his regards, and we've got to get out there for him in the fall. So make sure we do that. Secondly, I want to think this is a very special weekend, as everybody knows, and I want to thank all the mothers in the room, and I want to thank God. As many of you know, for myself and for Janelle and for Hannah, they couldn't be here this morning. They're back at home, and I'm going to be with them shortly. It's a special weekend for us because Janelle and I, about 5-6 years ago, we were told we never have the ability to have children. It simply wasn't going to be in our cards. It was never going to happen. And I will tell you, tomorrow, Mother's Day, that particular day, for 4 or 5 years, it was a very gloomy day for Janelle. And fortunately, a couple years ago, we found out that the good Lord had other plans. Found out she was pregnant, and on September 14th, 2016, gave birth to our beautiful daughter. So now Mother's Day is a very special day for us, and certainly want to thank God, but also thank all the mothers in this room for everything that you do for all of us day in and day out. So thank you. In regards to the upcoming campaign, let me say this, and I don't want to focus just on the Attorney General's race right now. I want to focus on the election in general. I believe this upcoming year is not going to be any typical election. It's going to be one for the heart and soul of our country. I've been traveling the state nonstop, and I can tell you one thing I am very proud about in regards to our party is this. Not one time have I gone to a Republican function where we did not begin with prayer or begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I am so proud of the fact that we are the party that continues to acknowledge God, and we are the party that is not afraid to stand up before every one of our events, cross our hearts, and thank and respect all of those men and women who have given their lives for years to give us the freedoms that we have. But that's the party that we have. And the stakes could not be higher with the Attorney General's race right now. Now, a bit about my background. I gave you my family background. I was a prosecutor for 3 years for Genesee County. I was a drug prosecutor for a couple of those. When I wasn't actually in the courtroom putting the bad guys away, I was actually on the streets with the officers. I wanted them to know that if they were going to have my back in the courtroom, I was going to have their backs out there on the streets. And it was an incredible job, an incredible experience, and I believe as the state's next top law enforcement official here for the state of Michigan, we need somebody with that prosecutorial background. I also spent 2 years working for the Attorney General's office. When I become the state's next Attorney General, it's going to be the first time in the history of our state we've actually elected somebody that has had experience within that office, and I believe that's very important. But I want to focus on this November election. I'm going to tell you the stakes could not be higher in any other race right now than is the Attorney General's race. And let me explain this. As many of you have probably seen, our campaign, we have ran a very positive campaign. And the reason being is because I know we all have to come together in November to beat the Democrat nominee, Dana Nessel. Now, many of you may not know a lot about her, but let me tell you a few things. Let me tell you who the Democrats have put up to run for Attorney General in the fall. This is somebody that is further left than Bernie Sanders. This is somebody who has openly said when she's the next Attorney General of the state of Michigan, it is going to be all-out war with our president, Donald Trump. Right now in the legislature, we are working on a Medicaid work requirement. Basically a requirement that would say if you are going to get free health care by the government, you're either going to work 29 hours a week, or you're going to go get an education, or you're going to be trying to get some type of skill so that you can find a job. This week, she already openly said that if this law is passed, she will not enforce it. This is an absolute activist. But more than being an activist, let me read something to you. This is the type of person that we are up against in the fall. In 2016, when Phyllis Schlafly, a conservative icon, passed away, this is what the Democrat nominee posted on her Facebook. This woman destroyed the lives of so many. They say we should not speak ill of the dead, but the best thing I have ever been able to say about her is that she now is. This is the type of person that the Democrats have put up against us in the fall. And that's why we have continued to run a positive campaign, because we are going to stay focused on beating Dana Nessel in November. I want to leave you with these 8 words and let them sink in, because we're going to need the help of everybody in this room. The election belongs to those who show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, on behalf of Dr. Joseph Guzman, I've asked Kuhn Driesen to speak, and he'll be followed by Gary Tompkins.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kuhn Driesen. I am a state committee member from the 5th District, and Joseph Guzman, I've known him now for the last, we'll say 2 years, and he's asked me now and then to speak on his behalf, and I'm very honored for that. I must say that it is very, very true that it is so different, the Republican Party compared to the Democratic Party, that we don't get into that mudslinging as much. And this is what we should stay true to, and this is also what Joseph's campaign stays true to. A little bit about Joseph. He's someone that is more recent to Michigan. He's here from 2011, and he was in D.C. and worked under the Bush administration. He was an appointee by President Bush. He worked in the Department of Defense under the Navy and Air Force Comptroller. He also worked for a while in the Biometrics Division, which is also crucial to the Secretary of State's office this time around. He holds a PhD from Stanford in economics and policy. So if you look at the Secretary of State's office, there's a lot of tweaking that needs to happen. The current Secretary of State, Ruth Johnson, she's doing an excellent job, but it's about the process and being able to tweak the process, and someone who understands how to do that. He has the experience for it. If you look at, he has many degrees in many different areas, including mechanical engineering. And I just read a thing the other day, a quote that the top careers and the top jobs that people have, one of the commonalities out of all their degrees is a mechanical engineering degree. So that really crosses a lot of paths career-wise, and if you look at all the moving parts that a Secretary of State's office has, that is also something that's very, very crucial. It's about tweaking the process at the Secretary of State's, of course, with the voting integrity. If you can have that percentage of error always be smaller than the margin of victory, that's where we need to stay. And we all understand that this time around, it is so crucial. I had the good fortune of meeting some of Joseph's work colleagues in D.C. This was right before the holidays, and they kept on saying, about Joseph himself, man of impeccable integrity, a great boss, someone who's always working within budget, someone who has the ability to always, get the tasks done. But that experience that I had at just meeting, they also were saying that the road that is going to keep Trump in the White House is going to go through Michigan, and Michigan is going to be crucial. They're saying this in D.C. So that's even more so why the Secretary of State's office this time around is so crucial. And I do believe that Joseph is the right person at this time. He's the only one that has had experience working and handling large organizations. The Secretary of State's office has 131 offices that they have to manage, thousands of people. And he's had that experience in D.C. working in the Department of Defense. So those are a lot of things that help him with his experience across the board. Currently, he is a professor at Michigan State. So, and actually, my daughter's going there, so, we're big Spartan fans. But my daughter is just for instance, my daughter has tried to get into his class quite a few times, and for him being the outspoken Trump supporter and conservative that he is, his class is always full. So that says something about Joseph individually, and it says something about our universities and state being as liberal as it is. There's still hope that there's people that seek out our conservative values and that. So, but the main thing I would like to also say is that there's a lot of things that Ruth Johnson is doing that are great. We want to keep that going. But there's three things that Dr. Guzman will always make sure that he doesn't stay away from. He will make sure that he stays within the existing budgets of the Secretary of State's office. He will make sure that he never issues illegal driver's licenses, and he will always make sure that we do not go away from paper ballots. That is always going to be something that we can refer back to and have that as a base to check the technology as we move forward. And I'd just like to say, look at Joseph Guzman for Secretary of State. Check out our campaign at Dr. Joseph Guzman on Facebook. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, some of our folks are going a little bit over because I lost my cell phone. So if you see an orphan cell phone laying around, if you push the button and my good-looking husband shows up, that would be mine. But my timer is on it, so that's the problem here with time. So if somebody wants to volunteer to be our timekeeper, that would be great. Next up is Gary Tompkins, and he'll be followed by David Maturin. Yes, sir. And Shelley's on the timekeeping job now. So.
I know, just for the record, Art, you have no cowbell this morning, so we have to, Art likes to cowbell me at a lot of different events, so absolutely. Well, good morning, fellow Republicans. How are we this morning?
Good morning.
All right, excellent. My name is Gary Tompkins, and I am the County Commissioner in the 7th District of Calhoun County, which is the east side of Calhoun County, and over that past year and a half, I've had the distinct honor and privilege to serve the 20,000 plus residents that occupy the 7th District. And over that time, within that year and a half, some things that I found very important for representation to those citizens and those residents. And first of all, I've got a 97% attendance rating at county commission meetings because why is that important? Because if you're going to represent your citizens effectively, you've got to be there to take the votes and have the discussions. Number two, I attended 95% of township meetings, village council meetings, and city council meetings. And why is that important? It's because to take the opportunity to listen to the township issues, to listen to the village issues, to listen to the city issues that they all have, and whatever I can do to potentially have an impact in a positive manner on them. And then finally, I've attended over 450 events throughout the 7th District, up and down the 7th District over the past year and a half. And why is that important? That's important because I'm taking the opportunity to get out there and listen to the folks. Listen to their issues, their challenges, and the concerns that I have. And it allows me to direct that and follow their priorities in terms of being my main focus. So with that being said, taking that year and a half to do so, it's been an incredible opportunity to do so. I've met a lot of incredible, wonderful people during that time. But my priorities don't change from where I initially were a year and a half ago. And that is listening, as I've stated very unequivocally. Listening so that my residents feel that they have a voice and they have an opportunity to actually feel like they're being heard. Number two, effective communication, which is very important. You have to not just communicate with people, you have to effectively communicate with them. Find ways to have the opportunity so that they know what's going on in the district. And one of the things I did over that past year and a half is I started a newsletter so that my residents knew exactly what was going on in and around the 7th District and Calhoun County, because it's important. One of the first things that I talked about was when I knocked on the door during my campaign was, first of all, what does a county commissioner do? Most people didn't have a clue what a county commissioner does. And then after that, well, we don't know what goes on at the county. So I had to find an opportunity to effectively communicate with them, and by creating that newsletter has been a very positive thing for me. Accountability and transparency, holding people accountable for their actions and being very open and transparent. That's the goal. That's why people don't trust government. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying as fast as I can. No cowbell there as well. But it's important to be open and transparent to the folks, that they feel comfortable and they trust you when you speak with them. And then finally, as I've always told my folks, their priorities are my focus. They're the ones that are setting the gauge moving forward. I can sit up here all day and tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But at the end of the day, if you don't take the opportunity to listen to the folks and let them be the ones to guide you, I don't think you can be successful being a politician. So it's very important for me to do so. So in the end, it's been wonderful to speak with you this morning. Hopefully I'll have the opportunity to continue the momentum that we've seen in the 7th District, hopefully under my guidance, and we'll continue to work forward, and hopefully I'll ask for the folks' vote, and hopefully we can continue that momentum. And certainly happy Mother's Day to all of you as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
If you want to know what's going on in Calhoun County government, thank you, Kathy. She's my hero.
It was in your briefing.
See, all you need is a friend who can look through your stuff. That's great. If you want to know what's going on in Calhoun County government, make sure you get Gary Tompkins your email address, and you will become a well-informed citizen. As we're going through our candidate speeches this morning, if you want to one at a time kind of sneak back and make your bids on those bake sale items, don't forget that. Next we have David Maturin, and he will be followed by Senator Shoemaker.
Thank you, Jeannie. You said 2 minutes, and so I've kind of written it out, and I've pretty much timed myself for 2 minutes, so I don't want to get on your bad side. My legislative aide, Sherry Sophia, tells me that I often get off into the weeds on things, into the details, so I thought I'd write it out. So it's been a privilege to serve the 90,000 residents of the House 63rd District for the past nigh on to 4 years. I've lived in the 63rd District for 38 years. Nancy, my wife, for 47 years, and I have been members of the Lakeland Reformed Church for the same time period. It's near Vicksburg. We've raised 3 successful and independent young women, and we have 3 and soon to be 4 grandchildren. I've owned my own real estate appraisal firm now for 30 years, and know where the buck always stops. It stops with the guy at the top, I can tell you that. I grew up listening to Republican and local government politics at the dinner table. Remember when families used to sit down at the dinner table every night? Well, we did that at my home in Essexville. My father was the mayor of a little town of Essexville and also on the Bay County Board of Supervisors before the 1963 Constitutional Convention came along. I carried on his tradition of public service with 26 years at the local level, at the township level, finishing up as chairman of the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners. In 1971, February, I raised my hand and enlisted in the United States Army. I pledged my allegiance to our country, its Constitution, and vowed to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I'm proud of my service to our country. I'm proud of wearing its uniform, and I'll put that up against any and all challengers. I got to know the folks in Calhoun County during my first race for state representative. My friend Vic Potter and I ran positive campaigns. I came out a couple percentage points ahead of him. We continue to have a healthy respect for each other. Several times I've not voted in lockstep with my caucus colleagues. I pride myself in getting past some sound bites and talking points to dig deep into the major issues that affect our state. And I'm proud that I ask some hard questions, and when I don't get a straight answer to those questions, my tendency is to vote against those proposals. I didn't run for this office to play follow the leader. I think my constituents appreciate some independent thinking on many of the issues that face us. Time will not permit me to go into in-depth explanation of every vote I've taken, but I'm willing to spend the time with any of my constituents to explain the reasoning behind the hundreds of votes that I've taken in the past 3.5 years. Thank you, and I appreciate your support. Thanks.
Senator Tanya Shoemaker will be followed by Tracy Tomac.
Thank you. It's so great to be here in Calhoun County. This is my second year at this wonderful breakfast, and so I think it's just a great breakfast for two reasons. One, you guys bring your kids and your families here, and so that is so great to see because that's what we need more of, because our future is all about paving the way for the next generation. So thank you for all those that brought your children and your families. Second of all, I think there's been 3 or 4 people that I've met that 4 years ago they were Democrats and now they're Republicans. So you're doing something right. So give yourself a big round of applause. I am Tanya Shoemaker. I'm running for Attorney General, and just to give you a brief background about myself is I was a state rep. First of all, I was in private practice, and I think that's so important for the next Attorney General to have private sector experience. Too many times people have worked in government their entire lives and don't know what it's like to have to make payroll. I have done that. I've been in private practice for 10 years. I've been an attorney for 24 years, and then 6 years I was a state house member, and I think we made a good public policy when I got into the Senate, and we were in majority. We made Michigan a right-to-work state. We balanced the budget for now 7 years in a row. We've cut $1.5 billion out of our budget. We got rid of 2,000 regulations. I intend to take that same conservative record as Attorney General and make Michigan a great place. The Attorney General's office, as you know, is the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Michigan. I think there's 3 criteria that you need to consider when you go to vote for Attorney General. First, does that candidate represent your values and your principles? I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. I know we have an arms dealer over there, and I stand firmly with you. When the Allegan students took me on to protest our rights to bear arms under the Second Amendment, I stood up to them. I will have your back. And then also, does that candidate have a proven record? I have worked on very important issues in the state legislature, making strong communities, whether it's drug treatment courts, whether it's senior protection. I have a proven record. Then third of all, does that candidate, can they win a general election? We are up against a far left woman on the Democrat side. You need your best and strongest candidate to go up against the Democrats in the general election, and I'm that person. I've had the Democrats come at me with everything they have in the Kalamazoo Senate seat, which is the state's most competitive Senate seat, and I have won handedly, and so I think I am that person to go on and take on the Democrat in the general election. I ask for your vote. My race, along with Secretary of State race, and by the way, you missed a birthday. I think it's Mary Treater Lang's birthday as well. So We are elected at conventions, so precinct delegates elect me, unlike the other candidates for governor and all the other offices for state rep and senator. So I ask for your vote. If you're a precinct delegate, please come to convention. It's August 25th and vote for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tracy Tomac will be followed by Mary Treater-Lang, the birthday girl.
Thank you and good morning and happy birthday to my opponent, Mr. Busher, and happy Mother's Day. I wanted to start with a quick story about my son. He was 4 years old at the time I returned from a Republican fundraiser with a pencil portrait of Ronald Reagan. And he said, "Mommy, what's that?" And I said, "This is a picture of a very important man." And he studied it and said, "I like him." And I knew right then I was doing good as a mother. I'm running for 10th District Court Judge, again the seat that will replace the Honorable James Norlander. I'm running because I believe we need a balanced bench. I was a business analyst before I went to law school, and I have a strong business background. I proudly am the senior partner of Tomac and Podolsky, where we have done the impossible. We have started a new law firm in Calhoun County, and we are one of the most successful law firms in Calhoun County. This is unheard of. It is also the only law firm that is run by all women, and we employ all women. Not that we don't welcome men, but I'm very proud of that work. In that law firm, I not only do criminal law, I do landlord-tenant law, I practice civil claims, and I've also been training with our code compliance officers. I'm familiar with every aspect of the law that the district court hears. I'm ready to take the bench the first day. I'm a trained mediator, and my goal is to resolve cases. This court sees more litigants than any other court. You are more likely to be in front of a district court judge than any other judge. And you would be in front of someone who's a part of this community. I was born and raised here in Battle Creek. I've been a community leader my entire life. My website will show you all the various organizations that I'm involved with. Most proudly, I am a den mother for my son's Cub Scout group. Balancing the court is important to me, and I want to continue working hard for this county. I volunteered hundreds of hours to help establish our sobriety court. I was the only member of that team that was volunteering her time. I want to do more. I want to see a misdemeanor drug court. I want to see us do more for our domestic violence offenders, and I want to see an eviction diversion program to help the landlords and the tenants in our county. A successful judge has experience in all aspects of the community that they represent. I am part of this community, and I will ask for your support in November to be our next district court judge. Thank
you. Mary Treater-Lang will be followed by Michelle Gregory.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am happy and proud to be running to be your next Secretary of State. I am not a politician. I'm not part of the establishment. I've spent over 30 years being a CPA. 15 of those years I've worked in computer security. I've ran divisions and districts of finance, business, operations, computer security, integrated security, and even government affairs. Very diverse background, but the next Secretary of State, it's mandatory that they have a modern day set of skills to drive us forward and continue that momentum and that leadership. And my platform of security, optimization, and stability speaks specifically to that. Security, protecting the integrity of the vote, ensuring that the vulnerable information that's there is protected from computer security and cyber theft. It's imperative. Optimization, doing more with less. I am fiscally conservative. I am pro-life, and I support the Second Amendment. It's imperative that we deliver customer service, and we take the modern technology, ensure that we give taxpayers some money back. Stability. It's imperative that we continue the forward momentum of our Republican Secretary of States. They have done a phenomenal job. And I am proud to say that I have the support of not only Candace Miller, but also Terry Lynn Land. My opponent will say that he was Assistant Secretary of State for 7.5 years. What would you think if I told you his former boss, Candace Miller, has supported my candidacy? It is imperative that we protect the Secretary of State. The next Secretary of State will define the political lines of our future. Whether we adhere to the traditional every 10 years redistricting, or worst case scenario is the voter not politician may be on this ballot, and that is where the Democrats have changed the rules or trying to change the rules. I am asking for your vote not only here in August at the state convention, but more importantly, I'm asking for it in November. It is imperative that we have the strongest and most dynamic candidate to go up against Jocelyn Benson and her radical agenda. She ran against Ruth 7.5 years ago, and she's back at it. And listen, folks, she doesn't want Secretary of State. She wants the governor's position. And we need to stop her now, because the 10 years of the Jennifer Granholm are behind us, and we need to move forward, and I am the candidate that can do that. God bless you all. Thank you very much for your vote of confidence in me.
Michelle Gregory will be followed by Matt Hall.
I was almost afraid. Oh, I am.
Michelle's prettier if you can see her.
Yeah. I was almost afraid I wasn't gonna be able to get over the podium there. It's a struggle. All right, so I'm Michelle Gregory, and you know what? I am gonna come out in front if that's okay. Sorry, short people problems. So my name is Michelle Gregory, 27 years old. I'm actually extremely tired. I work third shift as a certified nurse assistant. So, and unfortunately I couldn't get last night off, so I'm exhausted. So I'm running for County Commission in District 3. It's currently held by Jake Smith, a Democrat. And it's going to be a very interesting race. It's millennial versus millennial, kind of a socialist versus a capitalist. So it's going to be a very interesting race. And I'm definitely looking forward to it and ready to, you know, just kick ass and take names, I guess. So that's really all I've got. So.
That's when short and sweet has two meanings, guys, all right? Matt Hall, are there any other candidates who will be on the 2018 ballot or their representatives here today? I don't want to forget anybody. Okay, all right. So will you come up after Matt, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you for the work you've done. I don't know if everyone knows the way Jeannie stepped up, but, you know, taking over as party chair, and I think you're the treasurer, too, and you've really stepped up and done a great job here with this breakfast, so thank you, Jeannie. We appreciate it. And real quick, I wanted to welcome back my old friend from the state committee, former chairman Mike Troutman. This guy hasn't been around for like 4 years. Welcome back to the party. We love you, Mike. Thank you. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out my friend over here, Christopher Walden. This guy is great. He's the guy who does the Build Your Own AR-15 course, and he's promised me I'll be able to get in August, but I'm going to have to cut in line because these things sell out in like 30 seconds. So you got to meet this guy if you haven't met him. Welcome, Chris. Love this guy. Anyway, I'm Matt Hall. I'm running to be your state representative for the 63rd District. I appreciate David Maturin's service, but he's a liberal, and I can't stand for that in our district. I'm a resident of Emmett Township. I was the chairman of the Donald Trump campaign for this area. I stood with all of you fighting for President Trump when Dave Maturin abandoned him. And we know what would have happened if Donald Trump would have lost. We would have had a liberal Supreme Court, but instead we have a conservative Supreme Court, and we got tax cuts done, and that's great. I was the delegate for us in Cleveland for Donald Trump. I went to the floor of the convention, and I fought the Never-Trumpers and defeated them. It was my motion that delivered the nomination for Donald Trump in the Rules Committee. I defeated Wendy Day, who was a Never-Trumper. She was a vice chair of the party. She abandoned Trump. I took her on, and she got removed from party leadership before the election. I used to be in the Attorney General's office. I was the West Michigan liaison there. I'm a constitutional law attorney. And I'm proud to have the support of a great patriot, Joel Fulton. I love that guy. We worked together in the Attorney General's office when he did the reciprocity around the state. Michigan has the biggest reciprocity of any state. Very proud to have another great patriot, Dr. Joni Jones. I love her. Thank you for your support. And a great former chairman, Dave Mead. Thank you. I'm running to cut taxes, limit government, reform auto insurance, make English the official language of Michigan. I think it's disgraceful that our representative has not been on the right side of those issues. And then lastly, I want to thank our speaker, Tom Leonard, for putting a great vote up on the board earlier this week, and Dr. John Bison, to get rid of the civil asset forfeiture in our state, where you can have your assets taken away from you without a criminal conviction. Now, I disagree with Dave Maturin, who voted no on this, but the House passed it. I want to thank you, Speaker Leonard. This is long overdue, and thank you, John Bison, for your vote, too. We appreciate you standing up for the Constitution and due process. Thank you.
I have not meant to skip anybody, but I'm afraid I have. So if Vic Potter, would you make your way to the podium too, please? And if there is any other representative from another campaign, would you make your way to the podium at this time?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Trino, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, who, as you know, is running for governor. I first met Brian when I was chairman of the College Republicans at Central Michigan University, as well as volunteering for several Special Olympics events all around the state of Michigan. I'm going to attempt to beat my former record of giving this speech, which is an hour and 45 minutes for you today. So I have a letter from Brian that I'd like to read to all of you. Friends, I'm sorry I cannot be there with you in person. I want to thank you for your dedication to our party. Because of you, we have been able to spread the message of the Michigan comeback story, one that I have been a part of leading, but now it's time to build on that strong foundation and take Michigan to the next level. 2018's election is about building upon the many successes that Governor Snyder and I have made on behalf of Michigan. Michiganders deserve the very best, and I am committed to making our great state number one in every category you want to be at the top of, so we are the most prosperous state in the nation. My campaign for governor agenda includes making Michigan the best state in the nation for pre-K through 12 education, fill 100,000 skilled trade jobs in the first 4 years, increase the workforce by transforming our social service system into a springboard to employment, eradicate the opioid addiction epidemic, and bring civility to public service. These are all vital to Michigan's future. We all have a decision to make come the August primary that is critically important. Do we continue this success, or do we turn back to the failed policies and agendas from the lost decade? The statistics speak for themselves. Because the Snyder-Calley administration rolled up our sleeves and got to work, we accomplished the following. 540,000 private sector jobs have been created. Michigan's unemployment rate is now at a 17-year low. Our business climate ranking went from 48th to 8th, and we are the #1 Great Lakes state for job creation and #6 nationally. If you like the direction Michigan has taken the past 7 years, then I am your candidate for governor, and I humbly ask for your support. Together we are capable of anything, and we will take Michigan to the top. All the best, and God bless Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley.
All right.
Okay, I'm Vic Potter. I'm District 6 Commissioner. I'm also the Vice Chair of the County Board. I've been on the board with Gary a year and a half. I could say a lot of things that Gary said, because when I went to my township meetings, I had a laugh because most of them said, what's a county commissioner do at our township meetings? So I guess Gary and I know Gary's hit a lot of them too in his area. I don't have a lot to say. The county commission doesn't have a lot of power over a lot of things because we deal with a lot of elected officials. All we do is set the budgets for most of the elected officials. The main thing we have control of, or not control of, is the roads. And the roads, a lot of people don't understand the financing of the roads and how it works. A lot of people don't understand Act 51 and how it works. Mr. Tom Leonard probably does, and a few others here. But the problem is, Act 51 was made in 1951, and it's outdated. And I was at a meeting just Wednesday night, and the lady said to me, well, my tax dollars for the roads. Well, no, you don't have a millage. You don't pay no tax dollars towards the roads. Then they talk about this new gas tax we got. Okay, new gas tax is nice, but for example,
Kalamazoo County has less road mileage than Calhoun, but they have more registrations and more people, so they get more of the gas tax money. So you have to understand the formula to understand why certain townships and then more districts get, and townships and whatever gets the money. So it's not all in our control. So we need to work on overall at the state of Michigan to change this stuff so that when it gets down to us, it's more equal. And that's all I can say.
Thank you, Beck. As I said earlier, we are missing a lot of people today because apparently President or Vice President Mike Pence is cooler than we are. And so I do want you to take a look through your brochures today. Our elected officials have been very generous in their support of the Calhoun County Republican Party. Many of them cannot be here today. Steve Frisbee was called out. Derek King was called out today, our sheriff.
You got me confused with Derek?
It's the hair. It's the hair. So please do look through the programs. We're going to take just a 3-minute break right now before I introduce our keynote speaker, and that is so you can go beat your friend's bid on the pies and cinnamon rolls back there, and stand up, stretch your legs, and we'll meet back here in about 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can find your seats, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker now, Kathy Burden. Kathy currently serves on the Republican National Committee as Michigan's committee woman, alongside National Committee man Dr. Rob Steele. Kathy has a long history of service to the Republican Party, including serving as a precinct delegate, state committee member, vice chair, and then chair of the Sanilac County Republican Party, and as the county chair for several high-level campaigns. Additionally, Kathy was awarded the #1 Republican Award and was named Volunteer of the Year by the Sanilac County Republican Party. Kathy and her husband, Dean, who is also with us today, have 4 children and 10 grandchildren, and they have somehow made time to join us this morning. It's a miracle. Please help me welcome National Committee Woman Kathy Burden. Thank you.
Well, hello, and thank you, everyone. This isn't actually my first time here at Calhoun County. 3 years ago, when I ran for this position, this was my first place that I came and addressed people at the invitation of Keith Den Hollander. And since we do live 3 hours away, it seems like I'm 2 to 4 hours away from everything. We are farmers, so we live out in the boonies a little bit. And so when Keith asked me to come, I said, well, I've never been here before. Where do you recommend we stay? And he recommended the town of Marshall, which is a charming town, and he said there's a beautiful little hotel there called the National House. So Dean and I went there. It's a nice historic bed and breakfast. And when we went to bed that night, it was just cozy and sweet, nice little antiques around like bed and breakfasts have. And during the night, I slept soundly. I was tired. In the morning, we got up and Dean said, well, how did you sleep last night? And I said, I didn't hear a thing. I was just so tired. And he says, well, I heard somebody walking around all night long from my headboard to my baseboard. And I said, well, it's a creaky old house. There's old floors. And there were other guests in the house. So we didn't think too much about it, except he was complaining. He says, well, I don't think I want to stay in an old creaky house anymore. So we arrived here at this actual venue, and someone asked if we had driven the 3 hours that early morning. I said, oh, no, we came the night before. I said, Keith recommended the National House, to which the reply was, oh, that's the ghost house. I said, the ghost house? And they said, yes, there's a reputed lady there called the Lady in Red, and she walks around the beds at night from one side to the other. And I said, well, she had good taste. She stayed on my husband's side, didn't bother me at all. So that's just been one of the many experiences when I ran for office and since becoming National Committee Woman for Michigan, which I'm very proud that I won election for a 4-year term just a little while ago. So I've been busy traveling around. I've been to, over 65 counties in our state, speaking to people. And what the National Committee woman does is represent Michigan on a national level. We have different committees at the National Committee and the RNC, very similar to State Committee. There's the Budget Committee, there's a Coalitions Committee, there's a Committee on Arrangements. The Site Selection Committee is going on right now. They are a group of people that are selected to look at all the venues for our upcoming next presidential election. And I just got back from Miami about a week ago from attending my last meeting, and they're just about ready to secure that. So I'm hoping in 2 months we will all know where it is. They're keeping very closed mouth about it. So it's a large process to do because they have to look at not only the venue to hold everyone, but hotels, the logistics of getting our membership, our delegates, and the press to the site collection or the site of the actual convention. It's just an astoundingly overwhelming job. So they're in the midst of that. So let's see here. As National Committee woman, I've been proud to be a delegate for Donald Trump at our last convention. It was very exciting to attend the Trump rallies. That was the first time I met Donald Trump, was at one of the rallies. It was very exciting to go backstage. And what hit me about him, a lot of people ask, what did you think of him when you met him? Well, our chairwoman, Ronna Romney McDaniel, was there with her young son. And there was only about 7 of us in this room to go through and meet him. And what I noticed was he was very cordial to all of us adults, shook our hands and said, how am I doing in Michigan? But when it came to Ronna's son, who was a little timid about going up to him, he outstretched his arm and brought him close to him and it was just like a grandfather would do to a grandson. And that stuck in my mind, the caring that he had, and he knew that he was a little reticent about coming up to him. And that was just charming to me. So that stayed in my mind. And as I've watched him enact policies that affect all of us, you see that he is keeping his promises. Every one that he is making, he's trying to enact. But it's very hard because he has a lot of people that are holding him at bay, putting up roadblocks, and the liberal press is part of that. We cannot listen to them. They were wrong about the election. They feed us a bunch of hooey, and we have to stay strong in our belief to support him and our candidates who are running too. We have so many wonderful candidates in this room alone, and they're all putting their time, talent, and energy going forth to do what they feel led to do. So if you can support them, through making phone calls, financially or whatever, or just thank and encourage them, that means the world to candidates. It's wonderful to see that we have so many blessed people that are willing to put their time on the line for us all. Let's see here. Let me catch my lights. Okay. You might want to know what the Republican Party, the RNC can do and cannot do. Some of the things it does not do, and a lot of people think we do, we have no control over the Speaker, the Majority Leader, or individual members. But what the RNC does is the political arm to support and run the nominating process, the convention, and campaign for our Republican candidates, and for the re-election now of Donald J. Trump for our upcoming election. So that's a real big part of it. And it's an honor to be a part of all of those things. It's just astounding. Some of the things that I've been able to be blessed to go to were a women's empowerment panel. And that was really nice in Washington, D.C. It was including women that our president has put in positions of power, the 4 female secretaries, one being our own Betsy DeVos. And that was wonderful to hear them. Our president attended, our Vice President Pence was there, and it was just phenomenal. He really spoke to women and saying that he wanted to enact policies that would actually bring our economy to really thrive and encourage women in entrepreneurship and in business and leadership. And he also told about a woman who was a former homeless lady, and she told him, this is our country of chances. The future belongs to you and your dreams. And that really touched me because a homeless woman could see the opportunities we have as Americans. And that's why so many people would like to become Americans. But as we all know, we welcome immigrants. We just want them to be legal immigrants and not coming to our country taking over everything for us and putting a burden on us as in general as Americans. Our soldiers put put their lives on the line for us all the time. So proud of all of them. And like I said, it's just a wonder that this gentleman, who's under so much presidential attack and vitriol from the press all the time, does as wonderfully as he does. And I cannot believe the hours he puts in, the energy he has. I'm tired after doing a couple events this weekend, and my husband and I always say, my gosh, what kind of energy pills or what kind of vitamins does he take? I would like some of those. Also at the Women's Empowerment panel, it was really nice. I got a chance to talk to Kellyanne Conway. She was there, and she had a moment by herself, so I'm not a chicken or shy at all. So I approached her, and I just wanted to thank her for her role in being the president's one of his advisors. And I said, I want you to know, all the people that I know in Michigan pray and support both you and our president. She grabbed my hand and she said, do you know, please keep telling them to do that. I feel those prayers. We feel them. We need those prayers. We're under such assault every day. And please go back and tell them that we know that and we do feel it. And it made me feel really good to think we have someone as the advisor to the president who is a Christian, who is a lady of faith. And he has prayer breakfasts. I'm very, very thankful for the people that are in our administration going forward. It's just a wonder to me sometimes as I hear and see the things that I'm exposed to. I've also had the honor, and my husband as well, to meet our Vice President Pence when he came to tell about his tax plan a few months ago. We met him at the plane, and he's a very generous, very kind man. And I was a little starstruck, I must have been. He come up to me, and I couldn't think of my name for a minute. And I say, I'm finally Kathy Burton. I'm the, and he said, you're the National Committee woman. So that was very touching that he knew that. I said, yes, yes I am. So as we know now, he is in Michigan again. Michigan has been very important to our president and the vice president. And he's very engaged. And like one of the candidates said before, the road to the White House does go through Michigan. And it's wonderful to have the RNC chairman be our Ronna McDaniel. I mean, every meeting I go to, she's phenomenal. Every meeting I go to, Ronna is the epitome of leadership, caring, support. I'm very always blessed to usually sit with her at the lead table. She really tries to communicate with what's going on in Michigan, and I always have multitudes of messages, if I can remember them all, from people missing her here, and I miss her here, but we're sharing her with the nation for the cause and the good of all. She has been asked to go to Israel with our president. I'm not sure when that trip is. But she's, yeah, it's next Monday, my husband informs me. And so that is just such an honor. And to think our president is speaking with the leader of Israel. And we all know, to be blessed, we are to be engaged with our leaders in Israel and support them as Christians, brothers and sisters. They're kind of like the last stopgate from a lot of dissension in that whole region. And we need to pray for them too. And continue, and please, next Monday, pray for our leadership as our head leadership is going to be going to another country, and there's difficulties going on in that region of the country, as we all know. Let's see here. I don't want to forget anything. I have so many things that I wanted to mention to you all. Let's see. One of the things that Dean and I did, which was very much a blessing, the RNC was invited to the White House for a Christmas party. And I had been to the White House for the Women's Empowerment session, but we were excited because I just wanted to see the beauty of the White House. And I asked Ron, I said, is our president going to be there? And she says, oh, I don't know. He's so busy. I just won't know. And so we went, and Dean wasn't feeling the best in the world, but we went, and we got in line, and it was just phenomenally beautiful. You probably saw some pictures on TV. Our First Lady did a magnificent job. And then the thing that struck me the most when I rounded the corners, we came upstairs, was the Marine Military Band playing. They played the whole several hours we were there, military songs, Christmas songs. songs that just touched everybody's heart. It was just lovely. Well, then Ronna at one point come over and she says, our president is here. And she gave me a ticket. She says, I know Dean needs to sit down, so I want you guys to go and get first in line. Well, we weren't the first in line, but we were close. And a beautiful young Air Force major, she was kind of escorting us, and she told us that we'd have to leave like our anything we had on us, car keys, phones, purses. And then Dean said, well, I actually made a pin out of wood. Dean's a woodworker. He said, could I give that to the president? She says, absolutely not. That's got to go, also on this tray I'm going to give you, and you'll pick it up all afterwards. So we rounded the corner, and it was not just President Trump. Melania was there. And I'm looking at beautiful, tall, slim model Melania. I said, oh my God, I don't have to stand next to her, do I? And she says, no, we're going to stand you next to the president, and your husband will stand next to Melania. So we walk up there, and the president's very gregarious. He grabbed both our hands and shook them. And I kind of almost ignored him, not that I meant to, but I wanted to say thank you to Melania for representing the position of First Lady so beautifully. And Donald Trump says, she is doing a good job, isn't she? And at that point, I see Dean reaching into his pocket and pulling out that pin. He didn't put it on the tray. I saw 2 Secret Service men coming, and luckily he said, I made this for you, President Trump. Would you accept this? He looked, he says, why, thank you. And he just put it in his pocket, and they slowly receded in there. All I could see was in the headlines, Farmers for Michigan attacking the President Trump. But that was a highlight for myself and for my husband. I think anybody would like to go to the White House, and I encourage you to. They have tours that are open to the public. Just call early to try and get into one of them. Your congressman would be a good place to try, or probably the White House staff. And one tour that most people don't know about is at night. And it's of the West Wing. That is where you get to look into the president's Oval Office and see other areas where, thank you, dear. And you see other areas that aren't normally open to the public. But it is always at night, and I didn't realize that. But that was a wonderful thing to do. So I've been all through the White House except in the private sector where Donald Trump and his family reside. And I don't know if they reside there often, because he is on the go, as we see in the news, so very much. Okay, here. Oh, pardon me. Losing my... Not here. Okay. I know Mother's Day is tomorrow. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmom, and I wish us all a happy Mother's Day and a day to relax and everything. And I wanted to say that our president has enacted so many policies that are good for our women. When it's good policy, it affects us, because we are not one-issue voters. We are interested in education, in health care, in so many different things across the board. And he has addressed that in his policy-making decisions. Okay. And like Margaret Thatcher says, he says, if you want something said, ask a man. But if you want something done, ask a woman. We are the party of liberty, freedom, the party of Lincoln, being pro-life, Second Amendment, and Christian values. Our voices are so important. We support one another, and it helps our community and our country by doing that. And Dean told me a nice little story that I didn't even realize this morning, but it was about women's suffrage. And it was very fun to hear this morning, so I just wrote this down. Our party in Michigan, as most of you know, in Michigan was started in 1854, and the women's suffrage was going on, and they had the support from the Republican Party. And the women voted here in Michigan in 1919. Dean's grandmother, Fern, was 20-year-old lady then, and she often spoke towards the end of her life, especially how important that was for us all. And she was a very quiet, meek, humble lady, didn't talk a lot, but if something was said negatively about women voting or how they didn't know how to vote and they should go by somebody else's lead, she would stand up and get feisty, and it was really fun to see that. Because as she realized, we are a valuable voice. We're 51% of the population as ladies. We are not, and like they said, we're not one-issue voters. And I thank all our candidates who are running, both men and women, because it does take so much time, energy, and talent. Let's see, there's something else I wanted to mention here, too. It's just been a blessing to be a part of all this, to represent Michigan and go all over the state. And all our people, as I found out, they all have the same wants, desires, and needs. And everybody has to work together. We're a political family. And I read something the other day. It really touched me. It was a letter written by a young man who was valedictorian of his class. And I wrote it down because I thought it spoke to us all, and it spoke to what's going on in our political season now. So I'd like to share that with you. I know it's a letter, but I'd like to share it. It just really touched me. So it was written by a young man. His name was Jack. And he says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out the strong man when he stumbles. The credit belongs to the man in the arena whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, comes short again and again, because there is not effort without error and shortcoming, but actually strives to do the deeds, and who knows the great enthusiasm, the devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who in the end knows the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, he does it while daring greatly. So his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls that know neither victory or defeat. While we can't be the best at everything, or even at times anything, what we can choose to have is moral strength, moral courage. It's about making a conscious decision to be a person that never gives up when it would be easy to. Of course, doing this at times will mean you may face your fear of failing or falling short, like a fool, and the fear of not being enough. But here's the thing, no one gets out of this life alive. So be gallant, be great, and be gracious. Be grateful for all the opportunities that we have. The opportunity to learn from the people who walk before you and those who walk beside us. My challenge to you and myself is to continue to grow and develop for the better. Forget about long-term dreams. Work with passion and pride about what is before us. Because we don't know where we might end up or when it might end up or wherever we go, but whatever we do, may we always be friends when we meet again. And I just thought that spoke to us so much. And I want to thank you all for having me here. And always feel free to reach out and call if you have a question in any regards about the RNC or any of our political leaders. They're very open. All the ones that are here in this room, I know, are glad to take phone calls, to field answers. So we are a political family, and I wish you all a blessed journey home, and thank you again for having me. I'm just a mom. I have no political aspirations besides this one that I took on several years ago, and anyone can do it. Be afraid not to reach out. If you feel led to do something, do it. Reach out and do it. Sometimes opportunities knock, might not knock again. This young lady here that's running for office, all of us, if you feel that, reach out, because there might be the greater good that you're going to end in someone else's life. So you've all been a blessing in my lives, and I'm very happy to be here with you again. Thank you.
Kathy is such an inspiration to me, and I hope she is to all of us. One of our candidates earlier said that this arena really does belong to those who just show up, and I can't emphasize how true that is. As I was preparing Kathy's biography, it looked a little bit familiar. Folks, I'm a stay-home mom. I homeschool my kids. I don't have a circle of powerful friends, and this looks a little familiar to me, and it's just from showing up. Sometimes it's not from stepping back when everybody else steps back. They make you look like you stepped forward. That happened in our January meeting, if you were there, and here I am. But folks, you can make a difference just by showing up, and if you don't know the next step, we will help you find the next step. It is my passion to not take human resources and funnel them into a direction that we think is just best for us, but to get to know you, find out where your heart is, where your passion is, where your God-given talents lie, and to plug you into a mission that is meaningful to you, because in the end, that is going to keep you involved. It's going to make your efforts just multiplied by your own passion. So just show up. I want to take a second. Alex is standing in the blue coat in the back. Alex, will you raise your hand? Alex McVicker works with State Party, and he has been just a godsend to us. Make sure Alex has your contact information before you leave, or make sure you get Alex's. He asked what he could do to help, and I said, I don't have anybody for a bake sale. I don't know what possessed me to ask the guy from State Party to help with our bake sale, but he did it. That's the power of showing up. Thank you. And Alex is going to help us run one walk day and one call day each month between now and the primary, and after that we're going to kick it into high gear, but right now we're doing voter ID. We want to make sure that when we activate the votes in November, they're the right votes that we activate, so Alex is helping us with that. It's easy, it's fun. You laugh a whole lot. You think, oh, making phone calls sounds like drudge work. That's because you haven't done it in our office yet. You will giggle more than you've ever giggled, so again, just showing up. Before we close, I want to give a special word of thanks to our former chairman, David Mead. David, will you stand, please? Several years ago, I was David's secretary. He was the chairman, and he said, Jeannie, I've got this idea. I want to call it Pancake, Pork, and Politics. And he laughed, and I laughed, and we thought that was fun. And here we are, 3 or 4 years later. This was David's idea, and every year this would not happen without David. He shows up early. He does the planning. He does the cost analysis. He does the cooking. He hauls in the equipment. They don't have a real kitchen here. We have to bring everything that we cook on. And when I say we, I mean David. He's here the night before. He's here all day. He gets here early. He stays late to clean up. And David, thank you, sir, for your ongoing commitment to the Calhoun Republican Party. When he stepped down his chair, he did not step away. He's still here. He's still involved, and we thank him very much for that. And then David, I'm sure, would tell you he had a whole lot of help getting this done, too. Judy Mason, Kathy Skelding, John Cash. Some of these people aren't even here today. Tanis Gelliff had to work, but he was here last night setting everything up. Sandy Campbell. Who am I forgetting? I am forgetting people.
Lauren, Frank Brownell.
Yes.
Sidney Moore. Who else? Kim Hinckley.
Yes.
Joe Roberts. Who else? I know I was people.
Kim Hinckley.
Oh. Kim Hinckley.
Yeah.
And John Mason and a crowd.
A crowd.
Let me tell you. You know what I do? It's what my wife says. She says, David, you're not happy unless you're telling somebody else.
This is a volunteer-heavy event, and our folks really got it done, and I'm very thankful. And then is Kathy Skelding here?
She's help buying containers so we can pack her stuff.
Okay, see, I want to give Kathy honor. Kathy is my prayer warrior. I am a second seat kind of person. This is very scary for me, and she, a couple people of you walked up while she was hugging me and praying. That's so I don't vomit on my shoes from nerves. And here I can't honor her. She can't hear it. She's out doing the chores of the Republican Party. She's buying containers. So when you see Kathy, we give her a great big hug and tell her thank you. If you ever need a prayer warrior, that's your friend. I also want to thank our photographers, Ken and Darlene, who, yes. They have a way of capturing the spirit of every event. If you want to see their work, friend us on Facebook. And I want to encourage you, we are going to clean up because we have to get out of the building, but you are encouraged to stay. We ask you to stay, get to know one another, exchange contact information, talk to the candidates who are running for office. And I believe that is all I have today. Thank you so much for coming.
Access Vision, your voice, your community.